In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a mandala-inspired 3D object using Tinkercad, and specifically using a nifty repetition technique that Tinkercad offers via the duplicate feature. So let's take a look. In my Tinkercad canvas, I just have the unit circle just for quick reference for us. It's a circle that's divided into 16 equal parts, and in red, I've highlighted our familiar 90-degree angle, and in blue, our 45-degree angle. I also have the unit circle here above my head showing the other degrees, but this is just so that we can imagine if we wanted to divide a circle into equal parts, what angle would those parts need to be? Well, we know it's 360 degrees, and we have our 90-degree angle. We have 4 sections, each divide into 90 degrees. Our 45-degree angle is half of that, so then we would have 8 sections. If we wanted 16 equal sections, that's half of 45, so that's 22.5. So I'm doing all of this because in a minute we're going to need those angles to rotate our objects at the exact angle that we need. So this is actually very easy modeling technique. I'm going to show you what it is. You can grab any object you want. I'm going to do a roof because I think it looks pretty nice, and I'll just press F to focus my view onto this roof, and I'm going to duplicate this object. So I'm sure you already know about copy and paste, right? Control C, Control V, or Command also on Mac, Control V, and I get a copy of the same thing. But there's another way to do this in Tinkercad, and that is with the duplicate feature. So I'm going to click again on my object, and up here, the third icon from the left is duplicate and repeat. Repeat there is the key term. So you can click on that, and it appears that nothing has happened, right? There was a little flash, right? But what's actually happened is that it duplicated it in the same exact location and size. When I move it out, I see another one. By the way, you can also do this with Command D or Control D, and I find that way easier. So please start using the keyboard instead of that button so your life is easier too. So I duplicated it. It's there. I can't see it, but I know that it's there. So watch what happens. If I duplicate and then don't click anything, okay? Use your keyboard or your mouse if you want to make a translation, okay? So I'm going to just drag this out, right? And now, if I repeat my duplicate command, so Command D or Control D, it copies the object, but it keeps the translation that I had made. So I had moved it in the x-axis, 10 millimeters. It's copying it with that translation. So I'm going to go back and show you that again. Okay, so take my roof. I'm going to duplicate it, translate it. Let's do 5 millimeters, and let's do 5 millimeters this way. Don't click off of the object and hit duplicate again, and I get, look at this, multiple copies of this repeating translation. Every single time it's moving it 5 millimeters. Okay, so this is cool in and of itself, but check it out. This also works for, you guessed it, rotation. So I'm going to duplicate, don't click off of it, make a translation, I'm going to move it in the x-axis. It doesn't matter, let's do 5 millimeters for right now. And then my rotation command right here, if I hover, I get these 2 arrows, one going this way, one going this way, and I can drag and rotate my object either up or down. So I'm going to go with 45 degrees, down, let go of that, don't click off of it, and Command D, until we have 8 of these objects. 45 degrees, 8 different sections. There we go. Look how cool that's starting to look. This is the principle of rotational symmetry. We often find rotational symmetry really quite beautiful. So let's see what else we can do with this. Let's go back and just make sure there's only one. There's 2. Okay. So I'm going to take my one, I'm going to duplicate it again, and instead of offsetting it only by 5, let's offset it by 10. and don't click off. Rotate by 45 degrees. Duplicate this until there are 8. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's zoom out and see what happened. So that offset made this object a lot bigger, and that offset is determining where that center point of that circle is. So let's go back and do it again. I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to offset just by 2 millimeters this time, and let's rotate 45. Yeah, I mean, you can get these really cool visual outputs just with these very small changes to the translations that we're doing. Okay, so the next thing is, let's try, instead of 8 different sections, let's try 16. So what angle do we need to have 16 different sections? Well, if we go back and we look at our, if we look at our unit circle, and we look maybe above my head at the unit circle, we have a 45-degree angle, gives us 8 different sections. If we take that in half, we get a 22.5, and that will give us 16 sections, and that's what this white circle is. So let's come back, let's duplicate, offset, rotate, but this time only by 22, and let's see what happens. Cool, it's looking so cool. Now we have 16 of these objects. Okay, and this time I am going to offset by a lot and see what happens. Oh, we have a really big circle now. Okay. And last thing I want to show you about this. So I'm going to take my roof. I am going to duplicate it. And instead of rotating to the left or down, which is how I had been going before, I'm going to rotate up, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and put my translation in here too, so that we can see. And now when I duplicate, instead of the circle repeating down this way, it's going to go up this way. So that's just because I dragged my rotation up instead of down to the left. It's going to follow whichever way you rotate it, which makes sense. Okay, I said that was the last thing, but it's actually not the last thing, because check this out. I can do this with just one object, but I can also do this with multiple objects. So let me just grab any 3 objects, and you do this too. Grab any 3 objects you want, it doesn't matter which ones, okay? Just shrink them down just so that we can really see what's happening. I'm going to select all of them, do the same thing. Select everything, Command D to duplicate, translate slightly, rotate slightly. Let's do 16, so 22.5. Duplicate, duplicate, duplicate until we get to 16 objects. And look how cool this thing looks just without trying. Look how cool that is. I just did 3 random objects. So you might even make something even cooler by actually thinking about what you want these objects to be and what shape you want them to have this compound shape. Okay, last thing, and I swear this is actually the last thing, is that this works for translation in the X, Y, right? And Z also. It also works for rotation, right? The repetition thing works for rotation, but it also works for size. So if I take this tube, and let me just shrink it down so that we can see what we're working with. Okay, make it nice and small. If I duplicate it and then make it slightly larger. So I'm going to hold Shift and Option and drag out so that it gets larger from the center point. There, we can see that. And then duplicate, 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 duplicate. It's growing in size. And I didn't actually change its position at all. So let's watch what happens when we do a size translation. Let's make it, actually, you know what, let's do this. Let's take our 20 millimeter tube. Let's duplicate it, offset it slightly. We're going to make a little snail. We're gonna rotate it 22. No, we can't see it rotating because it's a perfect circle, but it's there, promise. And we're gonna make it slightly smaller. And now we're gonna duplicate it and watch. Now it's getting smaller, it's translating and it's rotating as we repeat, which allows us to make some really epic, cool designs.